Fundamenta. Virtue is the energy that lies behind the actions of the principles of reality. In Fundamenta, we view how certain of these principles, community, struggle, freshness, and reattachment, develop and express themselves. Often the fluidity, creativity, transformations, and life of reality may mistakenly lead one to think that reality has no anchor. These and other principles are its anchor, though they, like reality, are not determined or fixed in any sense. Each principle has a different, quote, chemistry, unquote, of virtue, yet each is intimately bound up with the other. Fundamenta presents one glimpse of this event of virtue. It can be interpreted several different ways depending on how the page is angled and what you or I seek and intuit. For example, the 5 states of struggle, attached and yet also unattached to the other principles, is seen here in yellow. The 4 streams of color that seem to provide some anchorage is community. The molecules of bond floating through the event are reattachments. Freshness has a single bumpy line that seems disconnected from the rest, though this belief is incorrect. If we can imagine that the event is not flat but is occurring on several dimensions, we can see how the freshness principle is one of direction and development. However, another interpretation of Fundamenta, equally valid, is to see each formation as a reflection of different energies of virtue. One of these could be the round yellow mass, the blue stream, and the jagged force, introspection, vision, and will. Another would be what appears to be a disconnected series of yellow barriers, a reddish stream that does not stretch as far as the barriers, and a connected group of comfort supports. A third is the collision of the blue amoeba-like forces with the powerful walled-in and bound-up formation. Note how the amoeba forces are spilling into the 4th aspect, the massive stream emanating similar box-like answers. How these relate to community, reattachment, freshness, and struggle is perhaps more clear than the first interpretation, but the first interpretation does not lose its credibility because of that. For a longer introduction to the entities, please visit johnclarksmith.com and click on Entities. Ancillary note. Because virtue also is the energy that subrealities and subforces quickly assimilate, and we may think that the result of that assimilation is virtue, we need to detour into a discussion of the work of subrealities. As reality flows and creates and virtue expresses itself, subrealities and their subforces, quote, interpret, unquote, virtue in individual ways and may create another, quote, layer, unquote, a powerful coalescence of ideas and practices that can form the basis for a particular moral philosophy or ethics. Nonetheless, because reality has countless simultaneous dimensions, movements, and actions, a glimpse of which we see in Fundamenta, the relationship of each coalescence with reality will be different, even though it is real, since each coalescence will connect with the strands of reality in a different way. That difference may explain why certain anomalies arise in the interpretation of virtue, such as the concepts good and evil. In the long list of actions and events of reality, including those present in other entities, none of them has the quality, quote, good, unquote, or, quote, evil, unquote. However, those concepts are defined, because such concepts are applicable to the work of subrealities rather than reality itself. No subforce, in fact, regardless of its advanced state, can by nature compare its assessments and interpretations to the, quote, infinite, unquote, possibilities and potentials of reality's universe. However, there is the obvious certainty of reality. All are real, and all reality treasures as its own. To be in full accord with reality, an element would also treasure all reality. Yet reality does not rule or dictate in any dimension. A subforce may choose not to treasure what is real, but that choice does not erase the overwhelming embrace of reality. Reality creates virtue constantly, and from that virtue, the expression of its principles is inestimable. Nonetheless, a morality of polarities, good, bad, right, wrong, just, unjust, etc., is one interpretation. There are no single judgments or moral/ethical ways to examine reality's actions, except in terms of its certainty as expressed. Reality's principles affect all its elements repeatedly, but they do not coerce. Coalescence manufactures myriad moral attitudes and rules of existence. Many areas demand such an interpretation for survival, but it has less worth as a principle across reality.